I have realized that I am love, and thus can only witness God. So we're referring to the single I here, as an I witness that I am love. To imagine otherwise is to be identified with untrue imaginal activity, as we also explored recently through some of the Sermon on the Mount commentary from Emmett Fox. I'll link in the description to that video. And also Lesson 4 in Lessons in Truth by H. Emily Cady, to realize that we exist beyond the illusions of evil. Neville says, for the solution of all problems, or we could say apparent problems, lies just in this. The second man, the Lord from heaven in all of us, is trying to become self-conscious in the body, that he may be about his Father's business. What are his labors? To imitate his Father, to become master of the Word, master of his inner talking, that he may mold this world of ours into a likeness with the kingdom of love. The prophet said, "Be ye imitators of God as dear children." How would I imitate God? Again, I know that I am love. Well, we are told that God calls things that are not seen as though they were seen, and the unseen becomes seen. So, the practice is to witness true nature, love, in, on, and as the appearances when it comes to relationships, personal relationships, business relationships, romantic relationships. That is to imagine ideally from the premise of truth. As he said here, every time we exercise our imagination lovingly on behalf of another, we are literally mediating God to that one. So again, the Lord from heaven in all of us is trying to become self-conscious in the body, to be about the business of truth, we could say, for I know that I am, and I am is God's name. Exodus 3:14. And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. Thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you. The children of Israel represent the single I, the individual that appears. You, me, that person there, the other person over there, I, children of Israel. Each individual that appears from God, that appears to God as an individual, is the I of God. I witness God, the witness of God, the eyewitness of God, from God, to mold this world of ours into the likeness with the kingdom of love. It is only identification to the unreal, not from the premise of love, that generate the illusions of separation that we experience in relationships, which is apparent by what we relate to the relationships. So, how is it apparent? Well, it is apparent through our inner speech, because I am aware of what I relate to appearances. So, the way I practice this in my personal life, romantic life, business life, family life, is what am I imagining prior to interacting with them, during interactions with them, and after interactions with them. Because I know that every time I exercise my imagination lovingly on behalf of them, we are literally mediating God to that one. He shares how. He says, "How would I send my word to help a friend, knowing that the word is love? I would imagine that I am hearing his voice, that he is physically present, that my hand is on him. I would then congratulate him on his good fortune. Tell him that I have never seen him look better. I would listen as though I heard him. I would imagine that he is telling me that he has never felt better. He has never been happier. And I would know that in this loving, knowing communion with another, knowing that I am love, a communion populous with loving thoughts and feelings, that my word was sent." So notice here, imagining as a participant, not an onlooker, as he says here. Always use your imagination masterfully, as a participant, not an onlooker. In using your imagination to transform energy from the mental, emotional level to physical level, extend your senses. Look and imagine that you are seeing what you want to see. So, from the first-person perspective, you witness love in your imagination. And what are the effects of doing so? Well, I have seen, let's say, what could appear as stubborn relationships that did not appear from the premise of truth transform, such as, for example, my relationship with my father. What I had witnessed growing up, not from the premise of love. So I put off that former conversation because they belong to the old man, as he says here. To turn the tracks which they are tied in the direction in which they want to go, they must put off their former conversation, which is called in the Bible the old man, and be renewed in the spirit of their mind. So, knowing that the second man, the Lord from heaven in all of us, is trying to become self-conscious in the body, to mold this world of ours into a likeness with the kingdom of love. Because that's real. Only love is real. And anything that is not love is unreal. Illusions of separation. Illusions that are not from the premise of truth. So we can put off the former conversation, like how he shared. Now, as mentioned earlier, I am aware of what I imagine, or we could say relate to people, prior to conversations, during conversations, after conversations. Some of the speech that I noted that was from the old man, which I transformed, were as follows. The individual may think, I can't find love because I am not attractive enough, which is an untrue belief, which is taking the Lord's name in vain. Again, the Lord's name, I am. If we associate anything to I am that is not from the premise of truth, not from the premise of love, it is clear, as I am aware of what I imagine, that it is untrue. So if imaginal activity of this untrue kind is generated in mind prior to interaction or in relation to what the person says or does during the interaction, or after the interaction, the individual thinks this, it is untrue. It is clearly untrue for the individual to think, I can't find love because I am not attractive enough. I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, prosperity. How can foundational reality, God, from which everything arises from, not be attractive enough when truly there is no separation in foundational reality? All is one. Another one could be, I can't maintain a relationship because I am not lovable, which again is clearly an untrue belief. To say I am not lovable is untrue. I am loved unconditionally and thus not conditioned by appearances. The individual can only think that I am conditioned by appearances, which is untrue. I am transcendent to appearances, and true nature is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, prosperity. So how can I imagine then that I am not lovable? It's untrue. Another one can be, I can't trust others because I am too afraid of being hurt. Again, this is clearly untrue, as this implies the illusion of separation. I can't trust others. Ultimately, there is no other. I am cannot be divided. Yet the individual might be relating to God from untrue beliefs, thus perpetuating the illusions of separation. So an example would be, let's say prior to the interaction, the individual thinks inaccurately. I can't trust others because I am too afraid of being hurt. I am beyond fear, so that's untrue. God's name is I am. To say God is fearful is untrue. And so what is I am? Well, be still, and you know that I am. That's the presence of God, not separate from I. The individual may think of separation, yet separation-based beliefs are untrue, and they result in the illusions of separation, such as the individual thinking that they can't trust others because I am afraid of being hurt. If I am unconditional love, how can I be hurt, as I and the Father are one? It's only the illusions of separation or inharmonious relationship with God, as we discussed in Thursday's video, I'll link in the description to it, that generates the illusions of being hurt. So to adjust this in relation to what we just mentioned, we could say, I would imagine that I am hearing their voice, that they are physically present, that my hand is on them. Then I would congratulate us on the wonderful relationship we have. So I would imagine that they are telling me that this relationship is trustworthy, and they have never been happier. And I know that in this loving, knowing communion, again, as I know that I am, love, be ye imitators of God as dear children. How do we imitate God? Every time we exercise our imagination lovingly on behalf of another, we are literally mediating God to that one, as he said, thus imitating God. So I would know then that in this loving, knowing communion with another, a communion populous with loving thoughts and feelings, that my word was said. So another untrue belief that could arise, let's say a person is having a conversation with a person and they're communicating, but in their mind they're thinking, I can't be open because I am too afraid of rejection. In that moment, as I am aware of what I think, they realize that particular thought arises from a belief from the old man, from which they think that they can be rejected. What does rejection mean? As I always teach, for example, to entrepreneur sales professionals, that what the individual considers to be rejection is optimization data. It provides insightful information to optimize your communication. It also reveals the different ways that you can communicate your offer, your service, in a way that facilitates a harmonious deal. It does not mean I am not good enough, which is an untrue belief. I am not deserving of love, which is an untrue belief. I am too flawed, which again is an untrue belief. Thus, unreal. As I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, prosperity, And to imagine otherwise would be revealing identification to untrue beliefs, which again belong to the old man, which is not operating from the premise of truth. Because, as he said, what are our labors, truly? To imitate our Father, to become master of the Word, master of our inner talking, that we may mold this world of ours into the likeness of the kingdom of love. So, this is what I mean by who you love loves you. To imagine otherwise is to be identified with untrue beliefs. And so the individual is aware of prior to interactions, during the interactions, and after the interactions. Perhaps after the interaction with another individual, they may interpret what the individual said as I am not being accepted, which again is untrue. How can God be love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, prosperity unconditionally, and yet the individual calls upon the name of God, I am, in a way that's untrue by saying not being accepted? I am not being accepted. It's clearly untrue. So if I witness that kind of inner speech, no shame, no condemnation, there may even be strong emotions arising as a result of the individual identifying with that untrue thought. In that moment, be still, feel the emotions releasing, and what you'll notice as by being still, you know that I am love, it's felt, you will know clearly that that was an untrue belief, no shame and condemnation. And then you can apply what he said here. How would I send my word to help a friend? I would imagine that I am hearing their voice, that they are physically present, that my hand is on them. Then I would congratulate them on their good fortune and tell them that I have never seen them look better. I would listen as though I heard them. I would imagine that they are telling me that they have never felt better. They have never been happier. And I would know that in this loving, knowing communion with another, a communion populous with loving thoughts and feelings, that my word was said. So this is very precise because I would imagine that I am hearing his voice. So if I am hearing his voice, how could I imagine anything that is not from the premise of love? That will be untrue, unreal. So to turn the tracks to which the individual appears to be tied in the direction in which they want to go, which is from the premise of love, true nature, we put off the former conversation, which is called in the Bible the old man, and be renewed in the spirit of our mind. Speech is the image of mind. Therefore, to change our mind, we change our speech. By speech, it is meant those mental conversations we carry on with ourselves. So I am aware of what I relate to appearances, or what I imagine via my inner speech. If these kinds of untrue beliefs arise in mine, again, they could be, I can't find love because I am not attractive enough. That's untrue, as that would imply separation. I can't maintain a relationship because I am not lovable. Untrue. I am love. I can't trust others because I am too afraid of being hurt. Untrue belief. I am fulfilled. Thus, I cannot be hurt, because it is only what the individual thinks inaccurately in relation to appearances that generates the illusion of being hurt. I can't find the right partner because I am not deserving of love. Again, untrue belief. No shame and condemnation. Release that identification. It's untrue. I can't have a fulfilling relationship because I am too flawed. Taking the Lord's name in vain again. I am too flawed is untrue. because I am wholeness, completeness. Thus I have everything as I and the Father are one. If there's no separation between I and I am, and God is wholeness, completeness, then so am I. I can't be open because I am too afraid of rejection. So again, rejection, if the individual interprets a person saying no, they're not interested from the perspective of not love, not happiness, not peace, not bliss, not fulfillment, not prosperity, it's untrue. It's optimization data. If we see it for what it is, from that unconditionally loving way of being, our true way of being, we know what to do next, we know what to think, and it's accurate from the premise of truth. So I can't attract the right partner because I am not interesting enough. If I am is referring to the source of everything that possibly exists, how can true nature not be interesting enough? I can't be happy in relationships because I am too dependent. Untrue belief. The individual has been identified with untrue belief, thinking that they are dependent on what? The external appearances? True nature is unconditional love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, beyond what the individual interprets in relation to appearances. So a wonderful practice, which I've been doing for years, which has been really helpful, which I teach everyone and I encourage it, is to acknowledge that being still and feeling the presence of God, I am the presence of God, means love. Beyond what the individual interprets as a condition, as in because of this visible appearance, then love, pointing to what they think of as a visible cause of love. There's only one cause within, I am, and I am complete, love. Thus, to point to a visible cause as something that determines if I am love or not is untrue. So we be still and acknowledge through that feeling of being still. You could say that feeling of being still means love. I was practicing this in conversations with people, again, prior to the conversation, during the conversation, after the conversation. If any of those untrue beliefs arose in mind, I would be still. And that feeling of stillness implied wholeness. Because to suggest anything to the feeling of the presence of God that is not from the premise of love is untrue. And I would witness that the emotions would arise and clear out. The untrue thinking would clear out. And I would engage in a wonderful conversation with the person. And I can assure you, you get better at doing this with practice. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. You can say, by being still, I feel the presence of God and know that I am love. Thus I am experiencing love wherever I appear. Thus I am fulfilled and appear to be enough. Thus I am secure. I am secure as I rest assured, knowing that I am fulfilled. I experience love wherever I appear as I rest assured, knowing that I am love. I relax into knowing that I am love, feeling the presence of God, to know certainly that I am love, molding this world of ours into likeness with the kingdom of love. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.